There's a reason people call it the tax on hope. The lottery is supposed to be impossible to beat. Billions of tickets bought, millions of dreams lost, and a handful of winners crowned by pure chance. But in the late 1990s, one teenager, a boy barely old enough to drive, found a way to break it. Not with luck, but with logic. He wasn't a criminal mastermind. He wasn't even old enough to buy a ticket legally. He was a quiet kid, a math whiz who saw the world differently. Where most saw chaos, he saw patterns. And inside those patterns, he discovered cracks in a system designed to be unbreakable. His story begins in a small town, in a house where money was always tight, but curiosity was endless. He'd spend hours pulling apart puzzles, solving equations scribbled on napkins, trying to outsmart the games his friends played. And then, one night, staring at a crumpled lottery ticket, he asked a question no one else dared to. What if chance wasn't really chance at all? The lottery relies on randomness, but randomness, as mathematicians will tell you, is fragile. If the machine that generates numbers isn't truly random, if the humans designing it make even the smallest mistake, then someone, somewhere could spot the pattern. And this boy did. He started small, charting draws in a notebook. First, it looked meaningless, just a sea of digits, 7, 19, 42. But slowly, he noticed certain numbers reappearing, almost predictably. He tested it, placing tiny bets with borrowed cash, and won just enough to keep going. It was thrilling, but it was also terrifying. Because the more he won, the more he realized. He was seeing behind the curtain of something built to consume people's lives. Experts later confirmed what he stumbled on. A computer scientist from MIT once said, "Lotteries are not as random as people think. The math is vulnerable if you know where to look." And this boy had looked in exactly the right place. At first, it felt like a miracle. His family couldn't believe the sudden streak of luck. Friends whispered about him being blessed, but inside he knew it wasn't luck. It was a fragile trick, one that could vanish the moment officials noticed. And they did. The State Lottery Commission began to see unusual patterns in ticket purchases. Wins clustered in odd ways. Investigators followed the trail, not expecting to find a teenager at the end of it. When they knocked on his door, he wasn't arrested right away. They didn't even know what law he'd broken, because technically he hadn't cheated. He'd just outsmarted them. Still, the system couldn't allow it. He was interrogated for hours, accused of fraud, his winnings frozen, his name quietly blacklisted. And when the story finally slipped into the press, the headline wasn't about a boy genius. It was about a lottery scam. Imagine being 17 years old and watching the world label you a criminal for being too clever. The money was gone, but worse was the shame. Teachers distanced themselves. Neighbors whispered. His dream of studying mathematics at university was crushed under suspicion. Psychologists say that genius in the wrong environment often looks like rebellion. A kid who asks too many questions becomes a threat. And in this case, the threat wasn't just to the lottery, it was to the illusion the lottery sells, that no one can beat the odds. In the years that followed, the boy faded from headlines, but the questions he raised still haunt experts today. How many games of chance are really chance? How many systems we trust are riddled with cracks, waiting for someone curious enough or desperate enough to see through them? And what about him? Some say he went underground, building software for casinos. Others say he tried to start over, but never escaped the shadow of what he'd done. The truth is, no one really knows. But what's undeniable is this. For a brief moment, a teenager with nothing but a notebook and a restless mind shattered the myth of chance. He proved that even in the most rigged systems, human ingenuity could find a way through. The lottery didn't just break him, he broke the lottery. And maybe that's the bigger story. because it leaves us with a haunting thought. If a boy can undo something billions of dollars are built on, what else in our world? What other illusions of